G'day ladies and gentlemen, Duckville here. Welcome to game number 2 of this best of 3 between these two wonderful Polish players in the StarCraft 2 realm. Of course, up at the top left hand side here is our blue Protoss playing for Team Liquid. It is MaNa. Previous game, MaNa had it looked like initially he was going to go for some pressure with some Blink Stalkers and +2 on his weapons, but got caught out in the middle of some creep and had to recall home. Just played a very passive kind of turtle style from that, not necessarily massively turtling, but put some harassment on with a Warp Prism, and then eventually just crushed his opponent's army after some great scouting with his hallucinated Phoenix. And his opponent up towards the top right hand side is our red Zerg player here for Team Acer, Nerchio. And Nerchio, as I said, it was an interesting tech to go on that particular map, just because of the some of those tight little spots in some corners of the map. On Altazim, you've got these really interesting choke points that can really cause some problems for Zerg, generally because they're quite a swarming race, of course, no pun intended. They tend to need a lot of open space to try and surround their opponents, or trying to get great concaves with your Roach Hydra, to go down these certain paths where you need to have some space to work in. But on the flip side to that, the Broodlords that Nerchio used didn't get the... I mean, they cut down some gateways and maybe some units on the ground, but they didn't get a huge amount done, and partly the reason for that is they're very slow, and when they are out in the open space, Blink Stalkers can just destroy them. So it was a little bit of a problem for Nerchio with that tech path, unfortunately for him, but we'll see what he wants to do here in game number 2. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, as well as my Twitch channel as well. If you haven't seen, I do have a Google Calendar that sort of goes over what some of the stuff that I'm streaming is. So on certain days I'll be streaming StarCraft, certain days will be Natural Selection 2, other days will be Dota 2. So make sure you jump on that, and you can see when I'm streaming stuff. And of course I'll randomly stream all sorts of other things as well when I feel like it. But MaNa is going to be going for a Forge first expansion, I believe that was. He is going to have a gateway. We're going to get the Nexus up and running. The whole thing's looking pretty good. This is a little bit of an odd wall-off for me. I am always one who's very, very cautious about putting pylons at the front. I think it's very dangerous. I do believe this pylon still covers the cannon on the low ground, but I don't know. Just sometimes I feel really weird about the way people wall off sometimes. But MaNa, of course, is far better than I at the game, and I'm sure he's had a lot of experience doing it this way, so he's got it all worked out to a treat. But as you can see here, Nerchio is going to be getting his economy rolling. Lots of drones coming out, as you would expect. His natural base on the way. The third base is also just coming through as well. Got blocked off a little bit at the natural, but not to worry. He doesn't really mind too much about that kind of thing. And we'll see where Nerchio is going to go this time. Frost a little bit different. It does still have some really scary choke points, I guess, for Zerg. You've got this little double entry point around this little weird cliff bit in the middle there. Sorry, like a little precipice there that you have to worry about, but also these other spots up here as well. But there's lots of space to maneuver on Frost. You can go around in these certain areas here and it just sort of go in and out, and there's just lots of space to maneuver around. So we'll see what Nerchio is going to do. If he's going to go for just straight Roach Hydra, you can go for Swarm Host styles here, and in the positions they're in, I kind of wouldn't be surprised about some Swarm Hosts here. I kind of feel like horizontal or vertical spots on this map does bode well for Swarm. Actually, particularly, particularly in these kind of positions, horizontal and vertical, they do bode quite well for Swarm Hosts, just because you can set up and attack into a third, or attack into the third if it's down here as well. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but. MaNa is going for his Stargate tech, as we can see. Got the Cyber Core on the high ground. The Stargate in an interesting spot, just over here to the front. As I said, regarding positioning, I always get a little bit worried when people put stuff on the corner here, just because it is quite exposed to any ranged units on the ground. But one thing it's not going to have is it's not going to be scouted very easily because it's just right in this little position here that Overlords don't tend to scout towards. You normally see a Zerg player will scout in this sort of direction with their Overlord. That's like pretty much the most common way that people scout. So I suppose that's actually quite some really good positioning there from MaNa. But now with the second Overlord coming through, it is going to see the Phoenix, and we are going to have our Stargate tech revealed. So Nerchio is going to have to react to that. We'll probably see a Spore or two go down. Roach Warren is on the way. There's Spore number 1. Do we have any extras? Yeah, we've got one just over here at the third base as well, as our droning continues on. So what do you do when the Phoenix are coming out? Well, normal sort of stuff. Get a Spore in generally in each of your mineral lines. Some people will sort of just play it a little bit greedily and will skip one of the particular mineral lines, generally because they'll have 2 queens there or something like that. But what you always do want to do is just continue making drones. What's the guy going to do when you've got some Spores up? You know, with these Phoenix, they die very quickly to Spores and Queens, so you don't really have to worry too much about losing too many drones. But I mean, it sounds weird when you describe it like that, because you're almost guaranteed to lose some drones, but you're not going to lose a heap of them because of, you know, lots of Phoenix, you know, coming out, or lots of units on the ground that can just constantly pick up your drones and kill them off. So what you generally will see people do is just continue up the droning. We've got 57 drones now out for Nerchio, and his economy is going to look quite good, as we do have 7 more on the way, along with some lings, and our ling speed is almost nearing completion as well. So MaNa still continuing to poke about here. We can see the Nerchio just checking out the third base. Sees a mothership core there, is protecting that position for the moment, but Nerchio is also going to scout out the other position, I'd assume. Yeah, he's just going to double check, making sure that there isn't a third base over there. So he's all good to go with getting these lings across the map, and these guys will be able to block off the third just for a little bit. For the moment, MaNa looks like he is going to go for just a pretty normal sort of setup here. We've got the extra gateways coming up, Robo Bay as well, to allow our Colossi to get into the mix, and as he continues to harass his opponent, he's actually picked up quite a few drones here. He's got 7 in total, which is not too bad, but the other big thing is picking off these Overlords every now and then. As we can see, Nerchio is still continuing to have to crank out some of these extra Overlords to make sure that he doesn't get capped, but he'll come across now and have a look and see that there is a large force of Protoss units now just marching their way down towards the third base. Lots of energy built up in that mothership core, ready to go with a photon overcharge if need be. And the Phoenix continue to harass here, just finding some small spots where they can engage and kill off some of these drones. So really nice work from MaNa. But one other thing that he's done really well is his positioning. He's gotten into a nice spot here where he cannot really be attacked. You've got an Immortal at the front to tank up some of the damage. These sentries are also available as well. And, you know, he's just still continuing to harass with these Phoenix. He's just finding little spots where he can always pick off some of his opponent. We'll see that the 4th base is now going down. A 5th base has also been started down here for Nerchio, really kicking into that economy right now, making sure that he will have a good source of minerals and gas coming in. Just speaking of which, looking at the tech for Nerchio, at the moment we don't have a huge amount of upgrades coming out, but we do have a Spider with +1 to Carapace on the way. So it looks as if he is going to just go heavily into the Muta tech here, and in fact with 6 Corruptors just about to pop out, he may actually just stick with a Muta Corruptor style, which in this matchup is very, very strong. There's no doubt about that, but one thing you do have to be very careful of is the fact that it can be very restrictive in terms of your tech path. If you're going down, if you're going to continue on with these Spire upgrades, you generally are going to see a Zerg player eventually go towards Broodlords and try and finish off the game with that kind of tech. But overall, going for this Muta Corruptor kind of style is a pretty damn good way to finish off a Protoss player. What you want to do is you want to be able to pick up as many of these big units that you can. Like if you can take out some of those Colossus, it's really, really good. Of course, grabbing a mothership core is also quite handy as well. But you really want to start to finish off the Protoss player quite quickly, or at least cripple them, so that you can continue on with your 5 bases and then get the extra higher tech coming out, which generally will involve air-based tech units, or perhaps switching across into something more interesting like Ultralisk or something along those lines. But MaNa is going to have a lot of mutas to deal with. There are already quite a few out on the field. This Warp Prism is in a lot of What? He let that go. I don't think Nerchio actually saw that coming through. So MaNa is going to be able to get some damage done here. Photon Overcharge comes out, and the mutas will have to back off for now. There's just not enough of them to deal with the Stalkers and the Phoenix that we're here, along with the Photon Overcharge. So MaNa is able to kill off another hatchery as well, sending across a few Zealots to harass this base. Picks up the fourth, but unfortunately for him, there is also another base down on the bottom side of the map, which means that Nerchio is still going to keep his economy in a pretty damn decent shape. But as the Mutaflock begins to build up, they've got their +1 on their carapace now done. +1 to weapons is now just starting up as well. And Nerchio is going to try and get some more damage done here. The Corruptors are going to pick off the Phoenix wherever they can. The Mutas will try and deal what damage they can to the mineral lines and also those units on the ground. But this is starting to get a little bit hairy here for MaNa. But I'm sure he's got the 2 Stargates. He's also got the Fleet Beacon just about done. If he can get his Anion Pulse Crystals up and running, and also get these upgrades, this is something which you really do need as well, is air upgrades for those Phoenix. But if he can buy some time, as we can see with these Zealots, just buying time, attacking the 5th base, then he can put himself in a good spot. But for the moment, it looks as if, Nerchio's muta count is just going to start to just get out of control right now. 24 mutas are up and running. Some more Corruptors are being added into the mix. 6 more are also coming through. But the air upgrades are going to look pretty good for Nerchio as he continues on here. But yeah, as we can see, MaNa, well, I mean, his upgrades are not too bad. We've got +2 on his attack and +1 on his carapace as well. The mutas are now going to just jump on through and just take out lazily take out a cannon here. As we can see, Phoenix now coming about. They will be able to deal a lot of damage to those mutas. MaNa carefully just dancing the Phoenix around. But the problem is that these Corruptors just, they deal a lot of damage and they can also take a lot of damage. They're armored units and they do have a lot of health, 200 health. The problem is that even if you are able to kill off the Corruptors, then some of your Phoenix are going to be dead, and of course by that time the mutas have already done their damage, killing off a lot of the units on the ground right now. As we can see, and more are flooding through. We've got more Lings now sweeping in, coming across to crush the units on the ground, and MaNa is just having such a hard time maneuvering these Phoenix about to try and deal with the Corruptors and to deal with those mutas. It's such a deadly dance here for MaNa, and I think he is in a lot of trouble as the Stargate is now depowered. Corruptors continue to ravage the Phoenix, and that will be it for game number 2. Goes the way of Nerchio. So Nerchio fights back here on Frost, and we'll jump into our final game, which will be on Heavy Rain. I'll see you there. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really nicely there. And for minigun, he's been sticking with a much more